There's an article in the Wall Street Journal about Hillary Clinton and her strategy for 2016, and boy, is it going to get ugly, because her quotes basically make the case that she thinks Obama hasn't reached out to Republicans enough. And she's suggesting that if she becomes president, she would reach out to Republicans much more. She says, quote, "My husband had some really serious problems with the Congress when he was in office. They shut down the government twice. They impeached him once. So it was not the most pleasant of atmospheres. But I will say this. Bill never stopped reaching out to them. Building those relationships on Capitol Hill is something there is no rest from. Mr. Obama has worked so hard and reached out so often, and it gets discouraging because you don't feel like you're getting much back. I don't think you can ever stop. And I think that's part of whoever the next president is, just has to be ready to do so." All right. I cannot tell you how dead wrong she is in what she's saying there. Now, here's the part of the story that nobody else is going to tell you, and I think it's fairly obvious and nobody else will tell you. I think that she knows what she's saying is false, but she's saying it anyway because she thinks this is what will play best in the media. She thinks this is what's the most centrist thing to say. This idea that I'm bipartisan and I'm above the fray and I'm going to do the political strategy, which is called triangulation, which means you have people on the right of you, people on the left of you, and you say, I'm above it all and I'm in the middle and I look for the best ideas everywhere. And this is exactly, by the way, what Bill Clinton's campaign was based on. The idea that, well, I'm going to be a new kind of Democrat because the old school Democrats were associated with the hippie movement and LSD and free love. So he said, no, fuck all that. I'm this new business-style Democrat who's a centrist, and I'm above the fray. It's called triangulation. So I think she's trying to position herself in that same way for her run in 2016, and I think she knows that what she's saying is bullshit. Because Hillary Clinton is well aware of the situation in Congress. She's well aware that the House of Representatives is absurdly obstructionist. She's well aware that Congress under Obama has literally been the most obstructionist Congress in American history. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. The number of filibusters are through the roof. They filibuster everything. You need a 60-vote supermajority to get anything passed. They tried to repeal Obamacare 50 times. They shut down the government to try to repeal Obamacare when, remember, what would need to get done to repeal Obamacare? It would need to pass the Senate, which wouldn't happen because the Democrats control the Senate, and President Obama would have to sign away his signature accomplishment. That was impossible to happen, but they shut down the government anyway. Say what you want about the shutdown in the 90s, okay, but their goals weren't as lofty and as absurd as the most recent Congress. And again, you just have to look at the numbers to see. Yes, don't get me wrong, the Republicans with Newt Gingrich and the contract with America. Remember, Newt Gingrich was the Speaker of the House, and they would block a lot of what Clinton did. But they didn't block as much as they're blocking with Obama. Okay, that's a fact of history. And I think Hillary Clinton knows that. But I don't think she cares. She knows that the American people, by and large, don't know that. And she knows that, well, I think I come from the old school Democratic model where everybody says you need to always be centrist, you need to always reach out to the Republicans, you need to always be bipartisan, and that's the way you win. Now, here's why that's so wrong that it's comical at this point. Because it's not 1992 anymore. You have to understand when Bill Clinton did that, it actually made sense because, again, we're coming off of an era of Republican rule, basically. You have to remember we had the Reagan Revolution in the 80s, and then we had George H.W. Bush get elected, which was basically another term for Republicans. And the idea was, well, we still think the Democrats are too far left because of, what happened in the 70s and in the 60s with, free love and LSD and hippies and everything. And don't get me wrong, I agree with those people by and large on policy, but they just appeared, the optics were bad. The American people, your average American thought, take a fucking shower and go to work when they looked at those people. So policy aside, their visceral reaction was, well, we only like business-style people. So when Clinton came along and said, I'm a new kind of Democrat, I'm a centrist, at the time it worked. But today we don't want a centrist. We want somebody who's a liberal. I mean, for fuck's sake, George W. Bush left the country as a fucking ash heap. Just a burning pile of shit feces left on your front porch. I mean, 2 wars, tremendous debt and deficit, the economy tanking, the Great Recession, all brought about by neoconservative policies. The American people wanted a transformative figure. We wanted FDR Part 2. We voted for Obama. We didn't get FDR Part 2. We got Bill Clinton Part 2. And now Hillary Clinton is saying, well, I know what'll work best if I portray myself as more moderate, and I'll reach out to Republicans more than President Obama did. For fuck's sake, you can't reach out to Republicans more than Obama did. I mean, on every single piece of legislation, he reached out to them. Seriously, stop and think about this for a second. Even when the Democrats had a supermajority for a brief period of time post-2008, what did the Democrats do? They didn't push hard. If they pushed hard, they could have got a public option for health care. They could have got single payer for health care. Okay? They controlled everything for a brief amount of time. And what did they do? They still passed the right-wing health care reform, which is Obamacare, which is the individual mandate system. That's a very pro-capitalist reform. But that's not the only example. Even with some like the stimulus, for example, a lot of the stimulus, 30%, 40% of the stimulus, that was tax cuts. That was all Republican ideas when we didn't even need to add Republican ideas because, again, we had control of everything. In every way, shape, and form, this guy reached out to the right-wingers and said, look, sit down across the table for me, let's negotiate, let's talk, and he caved, and he gave more, and he gave more, and he gave more, and what did he get in return? Nothing. They spit in his eye, and they move further to the right. And here comes Hillary Clinton saying, no, I want to hold their hands even more than he's doing. Oh, that's such a bad idea. And look, I'm telling you right now, man, anybody who's holding out to think that Hillary Clinton is going to be this, maybe she's going to be the progressive savior and the transformative figure, not even close.